Hi, everyone. Welcome to our session with Pluralsight, on behalf of Navigar. We are going to record this presentation. We've also, so that you'll be getting a copy, a link to the presentation, hopefully by the end of day tomorrow, end of the week at the very, very latest. We are going to present a brief document here because to be able to access all this great Pluralsight content, you've got to have a live Navigar account. We'll explain that to you in a second. We also, chat is disabled, but we do want to hear questions from you. So you've got the Q&A tool that you can use. So here we go. We're going to hand it over to Pluralsight in just a minute. But to access that, you've got to have a Navigar account. If you haven't activated your Navigar account already, you should have received an email from us on January 23rd. There's the subject line. There are instructions on how to activate the account in the email. The big key is do not copy and paste the password. You can copy and paste it into a text editor first and then paste it in, but not straight out of the email. If you don't have that email from us, or you're using a work email, Pluralsight has set this up so that we have to use a personal email address. So if we have you registered as a work email or you need to provide a different email to us, you can use the form on that web page to let us know what email address you'd like to use. You can request a PIPS email address on the PIPS website. You could create a mypluralsight@gmail or something account if you want to use that. But whatever you like to use, just use that form on that page to let us know, and that'll get routed right to the people who take care of it. Activation emails are going out daily, so you'll have an activation email within 24 hours, 36 hours. Anyway, really soon. Once you're in Navigar, you've got access to our training partners. GoFluent is language training. They do have English and French, but they also have 14 or 16 other languages if you're interested. You probably recognize the logo of the Canada School of Public Service. Percipio is our partner for what are being called growth skills or human skills. They're less tied to an occupation and more about our interactions and how we develop. So these are the things that are becoming so critical today. This is improving your listening skills and creativity and how to get buy-in to an idea. And then, of course, we have our star today, Pluralsight. Most of you are probably familiar with their extensive catalog of technical training. So the way you get that is, once you have created your Navigar account, log in, you'll get 2 emails from Pluralsight. The first one will connect you to create your free Pluralsight account. The next email will connect your Pluralsight account to our plan, which is what gives you the free access to all of this training. So again, we are recording this session. We will send you a link to it. We will also send you this document and the document that you see on your screen, how to access your Navigar Pluralsight account. So with that done, I'm going to hand things off to Helen Boyle from Pluralsight. Please feel free to submit your questions through the Q&A. We'll have time for questions at the end, and the Pluralsight team, Salah, Laura, and I will be here to answer questions as they come up as we can. Okay, thanks, Helen. Over to you.
Hi, thank you. I just shared out my screen. Can you guys let me know that you can see it all right? Yep, okay, thank you. Just also like to check. So hi everyone, I'm Helen Boyle. I'm with the Pluralsight onboarding team. So today we're just going to run through an overview of the skills application that you guys have access to help you with your learning journey. I'm just going to highlight some of the things that in here that you might find useful and kind of go over the layout of it. I just want to preface at the start is I am in the system as an admin, and I also am a Pluralsight admin. So some of the menu options that you see on my screen will be hidden from you. So I apologize for that. It's just the way it displays. I can't really change it. But don't be alarmed if this left-hand menu option here is not exactly what you see. It's just because of my login. So I'm going to start off going through the different parts of the product, and then I'll go in and show you what kind of an average course looks like. And then we'll also go in and look at your profile where you can gather some information in there and see what's going on. So when you first come into the product, you have your homepage. This is a good place to start as you get used to the product and start to work with it. It does have at the top here the continued learning option, which gives you a great way to have a shortcut back into the applications, sorry, the courses or the labs that you've actually been working on. So it's nice to have that. And then further down, as you get familiar with the product and you start looking for things, you'll have some carousels here that get populated with things that you might find interesting. There's an awful lot of options in here, so this is a nice way based on the things you've been looking for that it will give you other suggestions on it. So I would encourage you to take a look towards the bottom here on the recommended courses that you'll be able to see. But let me go in and talk about the specifics of how the product's laid out so that you'll know, how to organize your content that you're interested in and how to reference it going forwards. So the main thing is that we have that really is the backbone of the application is what we call channels. So I always tell people to think of channels as like a manila folder. You're going to have them available. They're empty, and then you can go in and you can drop in whatever you would like to be able to view, depending on what you're interested in. So in the company channel, which is shared out to everybody that has a license, we do have a welcome to Pluralsight one that I created. This, and I'll just open it up to show it to you. This one has some small information on the product for your reference as you get familiar with it. There's this starting out in skills goes to the help. Most of them go back to the help desk. And we also have a whole set of videos that are available, again, on each of the different topics that we're going to cover today that you might want to go back and listen to. They're real short, like 3 minutes, 5 minutes, things like how to build a channel, for example. But just know that these are in here just for your reference. And also at the bottom here, we have the blog page on our website that you might find interesting. When you go in and decide you want to start putting together a grouping of content for your learning, what you want to do is go into your My Channels, and then over here on the right, you'll see the option to create a channel. So channels are super easy to create. You basically just need a name. If you would like to choose an objective, you can pick one from the list, or you can just type one in. And the objective shows up on the top left-hand corner. See where it says Skilling Up right here? That's where the splash would be. And then there's a description. Personally, I would recommend that you put some information into the description, mainly because sometimes you make the channel here or channel there and channel here, and then you come back and you're like, darn it, what did I build this for again? So it's helpful to put in just a quick overview of what you're trying to do here. And also I would recommend putting in the date, again, just to help keep track of things. The individual courses are dated, but the channels are not. So it's a good idea to put that in there just so you remember when you did it, and also as a reference to maybe update it, looking for some new stuff. And then you will have it's going to show up as a personal channel for you, and then you just hit create channel, and then there you go, and you have basically your empty folder to start putting the content in. So let me show you one that I put together earlier this year. This was kind of my ideas of topics and interests that I wanted to do during this calendar year. So I didn't get very inventive. I just called it 2025. But I went out there looking for specific content that I thought was interesting that might help me with my career path or general knowledge. It doesn't necessarily have to be exactly tied to your career. But I went out there and found the content, and then I added it into the channel. And I'll show you how we do that in a second. One thing I would recommend is when you start adding content, you see it's just course after course after course. Sometimes this gets a little bit confusing or just overwhelming trying to figure it all out. So what I would recommend you do is use this option to add sections. And that's what this one here is, this one titled Skill IQ. I added a section in there and I gave it a name, and then I put a description in, which is complete this first. So all you do is click here. There's the two options for it. You fill them in and you're all ready to go. And then all you have to do is, if you look at the courses, you see how they have the bar on the left, you just pick it up and drag it, and then you can put it wherever you want. You can change your order down here, wherever you feel like it. Normally when I build out a channel, I'm going to put the beginner ones at the top, maybe in a whole separate section, and then I'll go down and I'll grab the intermediate ones or advanced ones and organize those separately. So I kind of have them laying out myself a plan to get through it fairly easily. One thing I would suggest that you do is to keep track of the amount of time that they're in the content that you're adding. And I kind of make fun of myself. A while ago, I put together a channel on doing project management, and we have a lot of information on program and project management. And I got a little excited and I started adding course after course after course after course in there. And the next thing you know, this number here was like 450 hours. Not exactly very practical to try and, watch that or organize it or do anything with that kind of large number. So I decided just to, remove it and start over again and do it a little bit, a little bit more scaled down. If you're putting the content together and it does get a little bit too much, sections are good. Or if it just don't want to do that, you could always divide it into two different channels, part one, part two kind of idea. One of the ways you can do this is use this option here that says duplicate. It'll make a direct copy of the channel. And then sometimes what I do is I'll go into the second one, I'll remove all the beginner channels and just leave the intermediate and advanced in there. So different options to do it, but it's good to know that you can duplicate them. If you build a channel out, you're done with it, you don't really have any purpose for it anymore, you can archive it. I would recommend archiving rather than deleting, because you never know when you might want to go back into it for something, or you might be able to share it with somebody else. And then here's the delete button that I used. If you delete it, it's gone. So just realize that you can always dig it back out of the archives, but you can't get it back out of the delete bucket. It's gone once you hit that button. So it's easy to do it. Now, everybody who's on this call are learners, so you don't have the ability to publish channels out to the entire company at we call a company level, but you can still share the content out. So if there's a team of you guys working together and you want to kind of help each other, you can certainly build a channel out, and then over here on the right you can add members. The person doesn't have to accept the offer to come into the channel, but you can certainly acknowledge to them that it's there if you want to do that. So if you get together with a group of your colleagues, you want to do something on generative AI, you guys put your heads together and find the content, and then you can share it out. So you've got not one person that's doing all the work, but just be aware that you can do that if you want to do it. But most of the time, you're going to put these together just for your own personal use. And then it'll keep track over to the side here how much you've completed if that makes it a little bit easier to track your way through it. And then let me see, I think that's about everything on the content of the channel itself. So when you go back into the My Channels, all of the ones you've built out, or that if somebody else has shared it with you, will show up here. And then you can sort it in different orders, recent, alphabetical, objectives, for example. So it's all grouped together. And then the homepage is helpful to kind of get some ideas. But honestly, when I come in, this is the page I go to get started, and it's really helpful. All right, so that's a channel. That's your backbone of everything. Like I said, it's a way to pull together the content on a general topic or area, but you have to do all the legwork with it, and you have to build it from scratch. If you have an idea of what topic you're interested in, and you don't really want to spend all the time building it out, one of the other options is to use paths. So paths are kind of like on the other extreme. They are pre-made, ready to go. They cannot be changed, so they come as they are. And of course, you don't have to go in and watch every bit of them, but you can take stuff out or add stuff in, anything like that. But here's the big long list of them right here. There's 650 individual paths built out ready for you, so quite a large number. And then they are listed over here in this column just in alphabetical order. You can search here, for example, one we were doing the other day for the customer. Here's all the different ones we just have on the subject of Python, for example, dozens and dozens of them right here. And as you can see on a lot of these, they have this get your skill IQ. So the skill IQ, which is the assessment of your knowledge on a particular topic, is pre-built into the path. They are also individual, which we'll look at in just a second, but these ones are in here ready to go. And I'm going to use one that I have. Yeah, I'm going to use this one because this is a good layout. So this one on Confluence right here is kind of our classic layout. Not all of them are exactly like this, but this is a really common way you'll see them. So when you come into the path, you'll see the description over here to the left. There's some related topic links here. here is the skill IQ that I mentioned over here to the right, where you can go ahead and take that if you like. And then down here is the courses organized by the level. So we've got beginner, intermediate, and advanced. And there's only 4 in here, so it's not a huge amount. Sometimes they're a little bit longer, or sizably longer. Over on the right, there's a watched number right here. I'll give you as you move through it. Just be aware that this number right here is the total for this section, not an individual course, but the total amount. Now, if you're not 100% sure if this course fits what you're looking for, you can go down here and expand it. You'll see a further description of the course itself, and then the table of contents over here to the right. And you can even go further down and expand this and be able to see what's within that particular section. And if this all looks good and you think it's going to be something that's a fit for you, all you have to do is go up here and say add to channel. And then, for example, here's my 2025 channel we were just looking at. You can click on that. You can add it to multiple channels, but it's going to see everything, all the channels that you've created. And if you want to start one afresh, so you want to do a whole different one on Confluence, you just go up here and type the name in, and then off it's going to build it out for you. Super easy to do. The only thing I will say when you're going through and organizing this is just be aware that these paths each have all these individual courses, and so therefore they're quite long. So this is where when I was talking about building my project management channel, I put paths in there, quite a few of them, and that's one of the reasons why it ballooned up so fast. So if you're trying to make it practical for yourself, just be aware of that time. When you drop it into the channel, you might have added yourself, something like 15 hours on that one path. And I only say that because it gets a little daunting when you build it out and you have like 100 hours. That's a lot to go through and complete. So you want to make it that it's a reasonable amount of time so that you're comfortable being able to achieve it. So that's why I just bring that up. If you're interested in working towards certifications, this is the link to go to the certification paths. There's also the option over here to do it, and I'll go in there in a second. It just basically what happens is we work with the companies that put together the certifications to create the content to help you prepare for them. Pluralsight doesn't have anything to do with the actual certifications. That would be something you'd go and do on your own, but you would be able to use us to help prepare for them. And then the conferences are just conferences that we've recorded that we've been either Pluralsight has shared out or we've been part of. So definitely come through and check out the paths and look for those items you might be looking for to give you a little bit of a shortcut to get started. Let me next go down and look at the skill IQs. So this is something you might find useful to help you get an idea of your knowledge levels so that you can focus on choosing the courses that are applicable to where you are. And I kind of make fun of myself on this one because I used to do networking engineering. I used to be in the server room, hooking up VMware sessions and moving servers around and playing with cables. But I haven't done that in a very long time. But I thought I was still pretty smart, in that whole networking world. And I took some of these skill IQs and, didn't do too good. Well, not surprising, since I haven't done it in years and years. So in that case, if I was interested in doing it with that, I probably need to start at the beginner. But the other side of that is maybe you have a lot more knowledge than you realize, and there isn't any point in you spending time taking beginner courses because you have a good foundation. You want to jump straight into doing intermediate and advanced. So that's think of that as the logic behind the skill IQs. You want to take these to get yourself a gauge, and then based on the result, you kind of know where to focus your time. So when you come into the skill IQ page over here, you'll see the 2 columns, which shows all the different skill IQs we have. We have categories here broken down to kind of group them together. If you're looking for something in particular, we'll pick on Python again, if I could spell it. And these are the ones that we saw on that other page of all the different ones for Python. Now, from this page right here, you can go in and you can do a click measure now and actually launch it. It will take you 15 minutes and there is a total of 20 questions. And so the reason why we can make it short and concise like that is an algorithm running. So as you go through and answer the questions, as the questions get, as you answer the questions and you get them correct, then they're going to take it up a notch and they'll get harder and harder until you ultimately plateau out, and then that's where they're going to be. So that's the reason why we'll be able to make it short and sweet like that. So make sure you're ready when you hit measure now, that you're ready to start. If for some reason you start it and then you get interrupted, or you feel like you just weren't, your brain wasn't in the right way to do it, at the very end, you can restart it immediately and do it again. Otherwise, you have to wait 14 days and take a kind of a break from it and then go back in and retake it. And the idea for that is in that 14-day period, you ideally are going to come here and watch some courses, do some labs, and expand your knowledge. So when you take it again, you're going to get a better score. So there's no limit on the number you can take apart from your time. You just have that 2-week span in between the first one and the repeat of it. This particular page, you cannot add them into a channel. What you have to do is you have to go into your actual, like for example, that 2025 channel we were looking at, you can add them from inside of there, or when you do a search under the search option, if you see them, you can also add them there. Just to clarify that, it's a little bit confusing here. You can launch them and complete them here, but you can't add them into a channel. All right, and then the last thing I just want to show you in here before we dig in a little deeper is just the certifications I mentioned. Now they're on the path page, but this is what we call our prep center, and this is just a layout of them to give you an idea of what's involved. I'll go into these ones for Microsoft, for example. Now, I do like the way that we lay out these charts right here, so you can see kind of the path of how you move through them. It gives you an idea of some of the options after you complete one, where do you go on to the next one. And then if you want to see a breakdown of them by course, you can go in here. You can click on the particular topic, and then you're going to see the individual exam prep groups that we have. And then if you open it here, you're going to see all the individual courses that you have to complete, or that's recommended to be completed. This particular one I selected actually has a practice exam. Not all of them do, but this one does. And then the last option right here at the bottom is the link to go find more information about actually taking the exam. And just let me reiterate, Pluralsight does not have the exams. We don't have anything to do with the exams except for creating the prep work. So you have to go to the third-party company via the vendor, for, in this case, Microsoft, to get that link to where to actually take the exam. So this one, it's just a nice page to kind of pull stuff together. Again, you can look at it under paths, or you can actually see it in here. Let me see. So that pretty much covers all the main sections within the product and what you can see. What I wanted to do right now is go in and show you how to use the search bar to be able to find some content. So up at the top here is your bar. So I'll pick on Python again, since we've been using that as our topic. So if I click on doing a search for Python, you'll see that it comes in with a pretty high number of results. And the reason why this number is big is because it's not only looking at the title, it's also looking at the content. And any course where Python is mentioned is going to show up. What you will find is the first 2 or 3 or 4 pages are probably going to have the most relevant content for you. If you're specifically if you're looking for a detailed review of a particular topic. One thing I would suggest is to use these filters on the left-hand side here. If you scroll down a little bit, you can see here's the different types of content. If there's the skill IQs we mentioned, here's a practice exam, here's some labs, courses, the individual courses, and then paths that contain Python. So if you're looking for specifically, say for courses, you can click on this and say, yeah, like myself, I haven't used Python in I don't know how many eons, so I'm going to go back to that beginner level and take a look. And so you can see the results went from 700 and something down to 240, sorry. So a little more reasonable amount to filter through. And oftentimes, just looking at the title will give you an idea if it's a fit for you. Python 3 fundamentals, yeah, obviously a beginner. Here's data essentials, introduction, another beginner. The big picture, which we have lots of these titled the big picture, another beginner. So right off the bat, if I was building this out for a refresh on my knowledge, then those first 3 might be a great one for me to go through. Again, using the add to the channel over here to the right-hand side, you can click on that. It looks like I added this one into my 2025 content already. I can add it, like I said before, to multiple channels. You just give them a click on it, and then it'll automatically get it added to it. Now, if you see the course and you think it might be a fit, but you're not 100% sure, you want some more details, you can click right on it, and it's going to show you the information about the actual course. So right here, we're going to see the table of contents. And again, we can expand that down to see more details if you want to. It's going to have a short description up here, but then it has a longer, more detailed description most of the time right here. So that give you another further, hey, this is a fit for me. If you're looking for a specific piece of the content, maybe something about a particular line item or something within Python that you want to be able to do some, review of, you can go into this transcript and you can turn on transcript links and then do a search for it just using the browser search bar up here. And all of these lines in here become an actual link into the actual video. So if you click on this, it's going to change you over and put you into the video right where that section is. So this can be really helpful if you're looking for a specific thing and you just want to listen to that small bit of information. This is a super easy way to find it quickly. Also, some of the courses, not all of them, will have what we call exercise files, which is just a download option that you can bring in to be able to practice whatever the content is that's being discussed. Usually you'll find these when they're in more technical courseware. And then what I like at the end here is related courses. And this is courses within the same subject at the same level that you might find interesting. And for example, here's that Python 3 fundamentals we were looking at on that first search bar page. And again, you can go over here, you can click on it, add to the channel, and then drop it into the channel if you wanted to make it a little bit easier. The other thing to note in here is this information on the course info. This is course info here. When the content is first published, it's going to have a release date right here. If the author has gone in and updated it, then it will change to updated. Now, I know sometimes people ask about the value of it if the date is old. There's some topics within, coding and engineering that are sort of fundamental. They've been around for a long time. They don't change that much. I remember doing Python when I was in college, if I can date myself on that one. So it's been around for quite some time. So sometimes you will see material that's got an older date stamp on it, and think of that as more fundamental baseline information that probably doesn't and isn't going to get updated very often. But the authors that we use are all independent. They have quite a strict criteria to join us and a continuing strict criteria to stay with us. And they are required regularly to go in and check their content and update it as needed. And talking of authors, if you have a course that you've listened to and you really like, you can go in there and actually tag the author to get more information. If I click on the author's name, I can click up here to follow them, and you'll get any updates, on changes, what they're doing and maybe content they're working towards. You can see these are all the different courses this person has published. This particular one is newer. And so you just have a list there. And again, you can go in here, direct links into them to take a look at them. One thing I didn't note, when you're inside of a channel and you have your content in there, periodically over to if you look at the course here, it will have a bar that says updated content or new release available. And what it's telling you is the particular course that you have is being archived and it's being replaced. Sometimes it's been replaced by exactly the same course, but it's been reviewed and updated. And sometimes it's going to be an entirely different course. There's an overlap while we retire one course and bring a fresh one out, but eventually that course will be completely gone. So if you ever go into one of your channels and you see an option for an updated course, what I'd recommend is to select it and it will automatically refresh it for you. It doesn't do it without you actually acknowledging it. It's not going to do it behind the scenes on you, but just be aware sometimes that happens. All right, so that gives you a pretty good review of the different components of the product and then going in and finding that content using the search option. So what I wanted to move, well, before I do that, one thing I do want to show you that you guys have access to is something called Iris. So this is an application that we added just recently, actually, in the product. And it's a way to be able to get some great information created without having to do an immense amount of searching if you don't have time for it and just want to let us do a little bit of the legwork for you. So for example, I'm going to show you this one right here. I went in this morning and asked it to build out some generative AI courses for me in order to get ready for some work that we're doing internally. And I wanted it to spread it over the next 8 weeks to make it somewhat reasonable for me to be able to complete it. So I asked it to please help me create a learning path for generative AI that I can follow over the next 8 weeks, including labs and other related topics. So it came in, and first of all, it gave me the hands-on experience for the labs that I have that are out there for it. And then further down here, it gave me a suggested 8-week plan. So this is super. I can, it's all ready to go for me. I don't have to spend a lot of time searching for it. Like anything else you build out with AI, it has its hiccups sometimes, and it maybe doesn't find everything exactly what you needed. But this can give you a great foundation to build off of, so you don't have to spend a huge amount of time looking for the content. And what's really sweet about this, if you go down to the very bottom, it gives me the option to add it to a channel. So if I click on that, it's just going to build this out for me. And then based on that, I can go back and do a review of it and, remove or add other things in order to finalize it for me. So I would highly recommend you guys look at this and potentially utilize it so that it makes your the methods you use to find content a little bit easier. Like I say, it's been out for a few months now. We have done some additional updates to it, so I think you'll see some more improvements and getting more refined as we move forwards. But it's a great addition to the product. All right, before we move into the Q&A session, let me just show you one last little bit about your profile. And everybody's going to have this, and it's down here in the bottom left-hand corner with your name. If you click on this, you're going to see some different menu options, and I'll just highlight a couple of them that you might, would make sense for you to be able to get access to. Under history, this is going to show you all of the different courses you've been in and looking at. Mine is always a little bit nutty because I'm always looking at stuff for different customers, so it's all over the place and all different angles. But what's nice about this is if you're trying to remember which courses you were working on and which ones you still had to complete, it's kind of a shortcut way to do it. If it has the little rosette next to it, it means it's been completed. And if you click on that, it actually shows you a little certificate that you've done it. But you can also search it here by completion percentage, and it will give you a list of all the ones you've done, or in my case, all the ones I looked at for somebody and never did anything else with it. But it gives you that option in there to take it. So sometimes that can be helpful. The other option here that I just wanted to show you real quick is if you want some more information from us and you would like to get some newsletters or some updates, if you go under communication preferences under your account, here's the option to subscribe and unsubscribe to all the different marketing and product updates. Just let you know that that's there. If you're interested in receiving them, you have to go in there and actually acknowledge it and set them up. And then let me go into the profile because there's a couple of things in here you might find helpful too. So inside of your profile, you do have the option to share out what you're doing within skills into some of the media sites like LinkedIn, for example. You can go in here and edit your profile. And then once you've finished setting it all up, you can take a look at it, what it looks like publicly. And then if you're interested in it, you just click on the share option here, and then you can go ahead and put out where you want to share it. My particular profile is private, but this is a way for it to pop up there on your, for example, your LinkedIn profile. The little eyeballs right here in the different sections, that's how you hide or expose those depending on what you want to be able to people to see. And in this first section here, it's kind of like a high-level overview of your activity within the product. So I'm making fun of myself here on this little chart because at the end of last year, before the end of the calendar year, fiscal year, we had as a requirement, as a onboarding technician that I am, we had courses we had to complete. So as you can see, I had a scramble in November to finish all this stuff I'd been procrastinating on at the end of the year. Ideally, this number should be nice and flat. It's very hard to remember to come in here and utilize the product. So sometimes if you put an option on your calendar, just invite yourself to come into skills for half an hour a week or something like that, depending on what you're working towards. But any kind of reminder for you to come in here and take advantage of it would be great. You'll see here in your learning streaks. So if you set a goal of being in the product for, say, half an hour every week, once you meet that, it will show up as a little blue dot saying that you accomplished it. And this just shows you trends over the last several weeks, what you've been working on, how, what kind of goals. If I click back here, you can see in that second week of January, I met the goal that had set myself for. And then this last one just gives you a little splash of what areas you've been working on, what courses you've been in, and that type of thing. So it just kind of gives you a little history. One thing I would recommend that you do just for your own benefit is to utilize these interests right here. So if you click update interest, it's going to bring in a big long list of all the different topics on subjects and actual topics like Python, for example. And you can go here and add up to 15 of them. If you do at least 6, it gives a kind of a basis. But what this does is it helps influence the recommendations it makes when you do searches and things like that. So take that as an action item today, is to go in here and update these so you'll actually be able to get some help on it. Badges are just fun ones we have automatically issued to you once you complete certain activities. For example, logging in at least once a month or once a week, you get them added in there. You can go in and look at them and pick one to work towards if you'd like, but you'll just see them automatically get added as you go in. The next section is on the skill IQs. So we mentioned those earlier. You can take them to get an assessment of your knowledge of a product. Let me show you right here what the output looks like. One of those things towards the end of the year that we had to do was to take this AWS Cloud Compute courses that we had to finish. So before I started completing them, I took a skill IQ to see where I was. And then the idea is take the skill IQ, complete the coursework, and then retake it and see your improvement. So not really knowing much about AWS Cloud Compute, I went in here and took it and I did okay. I'm in the emerging group, 29 percentile. I scored 118 out of 300. When you take the skill IQ, like I mentioned before, you have to wait those 14 days. This day has passed, so now this retake now option is highlighted. If I had not waited that 14 days, this would be grayed out. I can go in and actually look at my answers and see what I missed and what I got right. But the nice thing about this is if you scroll down a little bit, it's actually going to give you some shortcuts to get back into the content that you need to work on. So it kind of just makes it nice and easy for you. Over here to the right, it has my strengths, and then it has my gaps. It highlights the 3 items that it felt like I needed some more information gathering on. And then up here, it took each of those gaps and it gives me actual sections within the courseware that it wants me to go back and view. Now, it's going to take you to the top of the section that covers AWS Lambda. It'll drop you right in there, and then you can just click the listen button and continue. And for each of these, it's given me 2 options. In this particular case, it's all coming from the exact same course. Sometimes you will see it coming from different courses. But the idea is that if I go back and re-listen to all this, maybe I do some additional studying and listening to some other videos on my own. After that 2-week plus period has passed, I can hopefully go in and do a little bit better on that skill IQ. And again, don't think of it as any kind of test or anything. It's just to help gauge your knowledge and to help you up your knowledge a little bit so you can keep progressing on whatever your career goals or your personal goals are. And then if I go back into my profile here and I scroll down a little bit further, the other thing that might be helpful is kind of a duplication, but you have your current learning, things that are your underway of completing, and then completed courses down here. I'll just make a note, this entry certification piece at the bottom, this probably you guys will not use because this is when you're uploading it if you're set up in a more of a traditional corporate structure with managers and teams. So this would be where you would upload it so management can see which ones you've completed. So you don't need to bother with putting any of this in here. This is at a level you guys aren't using the product to. So just highlight that. All right, I think that pretty much covers everything that I can think of. I don't think I missed anything out for you guys. I mean, I think if you would like, we can go ahead and open up for questions. Yeah, we could talk about notifications. Yeah, we're good.
I think there was this is Cindy,
Yeah.
sorry. So I think there's a request to show some of the hands-on. So if you
Oh,
wouldn't
yeah.
mind
Yeah.
kind of showing that.
Yeah, sure. So I just clicked on the hands-on option here on the left-hand side of the menu. When it comes in, it's going to have some instructions at the top, one for playground, one for labs. And then these are the 4 sandboxes that you have available. If you could click getting started in it, it'll bring it up. And then you can basically go in and you can just, so this is one I created the other day, so it's already stopped. But you can go in and either create a new server or I can restart the one that I have already built out. It's fairly easy to do it. It does take several minutes to build it out and make it available. So just bear that in mind when you click on it. So you can do it based on different types of sandboxes, and you also have just an instant terminal here at the end. I don't know, Cindy, if there was any specific questions or just
Oh, no, I was just looking at there was can you launch, there were 2 questions in the Q&A. One was, can you launch a lab for an example, or can you share some information hands-on? It's in the labs for some courses.
okay. All right, thank you.
That was all. Thank you. Hopefully that answered the anonymous attendees question as well.
Was there any other questions that were published that I can address?
I think Peter has accumulated lists of questions that pertained to you, but I also know that there's folks that have their hands raised. So I think he's giving them opportunity to speak. While he's doing that, I'm going to look through the questions and see if there is. I know somebody said they didn't have access to Iris and they didn't see that. They did a search. They didn't get as many results as you did. I'm just scrolling the question. We have a lot of questions. So I'm trying to find the exact.
Do we know who that was, Laura? Because there was one, Aaron Fonseca that had
Oh
not.
yeah, Aaron Fonseca. Yeah, he said, that's right. I only have 59 skills available to me in the paths category. Helen has 650.
Yeah, that's because he hasn't accepted his license yet.
Yeah, that's a good point to note. If you see any option in there that says upgrade now, that would be on the left-hand side here, that would be an indication that your license is not, you don't have a license. So just be aware of that.
It means you have access to the free account. And so in the activation process, there's 2 steps. And the first step allows you, it's where you get a link to Pluralsight and you create your free account. And the second link, you click on it and it gets you into Navigar Pluralsight. We have all those instructions on the support page because it is pretty detailed. And I know I've provided a link to the PDF to some folks in the Q&A.
Okay, we've got 3 people with their hands raised. Ali, Zed, and Mark. I'm going to assume chronological order is reversed, so I'm going to start with Mark Harley. You're good to go, Mark. I can see you're muted, Mark, too. Oh, maybe, let me see if I do that. Looks okay, Mark. Still can't hear you, I'm afraid. Mark, I hope you'll forgive me. I'm going to move on. You're still there as a hand up, so we can come back to you. I'm going to go to Zed now and give Zed permission to talk. Boy, I hope this isn't me. I've got a button that says ask to unmute. Yeah, I'm afraid that I'm sorry, we're not here. Can I ask can I ask anyone with their hand raised to quickly put something in the Q&A? I'm really not sure what's happening here. It looks like all the right settings are there, but we can't hear you, so I think it's something on our end.
Okay, there's questions in there, Peter, if you want to read through them.
Yeah. Okay. You have to log into Navigar first to log into Pluralsight. For the initial setup, yes. But I believe once that's set up, you've got access to your Pluralsight account. It'll be tagged to your Navigar email, which tags you to our plan, which gives you the access. Looks like we have access to Cloud Guru. Will that remain accessible? I don't know why it wouldn't, but fair play. Helen?
Yeah, so the iCloud Guru is in the process. We've moved it into skills, so eventually it will go away. But not all, majority of the content is inside of skills now under that hands-on labs right there. So yeah, I would say go into skills to access anything to do with hands-on rather than using the iCloud Guru.
Thank you. A question for how long will Pluralsight and Percipio be available for? Well,
Forever.
Laura, do you want to handle this one? I mean, the gist of it is that this is paid for from the.
Sorry, I was typing an answer.
Sorry.
So you'll have availability until December 2026. You have, as you well know, another collective agreement is going into negotiation this fall. So I can't tell you or predict what's going to be in that collective agreement. And I just want a reminder, because there's quite a few questions that have come up in the Q&A about why I can't use my work email. We went into this in a lot of detail in messaging as well as on our support page. And it has to do with how Pluralsight is configured and how a plan works. And if a plan is linked to an email, then that's locked in. And moving history also becomes complex and convoluted. And so it's really important that we keep work accounts and personal accounts separate. And this is the only way that we can do it and ensure that both the integrity of both accounts. So you might say, well, I'm not, I'm not doing training anymore with my work. Okay, maybe that's the case now. In 3 years, that might change. In 6 months, that might change. In 5 years, that might change. So you won't be able to if you activate that account with your work email and you've already done all that work in Pluralsight, that account will move over to work. So, that's sort of at a very high level explanation. It's a little more technical and detailed, but that's why. So there were a lot of meetings, a lot of discussions, and at the onset, we always suggested folks use their personal email when using Navigar. We weren't forcing people not to. And it wasn't until we dug into the back end of Pluralsight, once we started that implementation or integration phase, that we came across this issue and had to remedy it by asking people to use personal email.
Okay. How to access GoFluent. So once you log into Navigar, you can access the training through a couple of ways. You can go to the My Training page, and there are links out to our partners. You can access GoFluent through Percipio. Percipio is actually the parent organization of GoFluent. And then you can also, once you've got courses, once you've completed the skills profile, because this is the secret sauce of Navigar, right? You put in your current position, a desired position or skills you want to acquire. Navigar will help you set your skill levels, identify gaps, opportunities, and give you the training present you just the training that you need to address those gaps. So once you've done that, if a GoFluent or a Percipio course pops up on that list, you'll be able to access it through the through that link.
Sorry, I'm getting so many questions around this, and so I'm going to reiterate. Please go to navigar.ca support. You'll see when you land on navigar.ca, there is IT group support in the top panel. Please go there and click on the links that provide information on how to set up your Pluralsight account, the email issue, and why you need to have a personal email. I'm not sending you there because I'm trying to take a shortcut. I'm sending you there because it's very detailed instructions with a lot of steps that I can't articulate in a short message in a Q&A or even verbally. You need to go through them. The reason we actually created a PDF that's easy to follow visually and also to print out is to really recognize that there's a lot of steps and it's somewhat complicated. So that's why I'm not trying to just, hand you off, but really please start there. And then we link to the support page if you need. Peter, is that whose screen are we seeing right now?
Sorry,
Yeah.
someone we're seeing your calendar, maybe Helen.
Okay.
Just
anyhow, I'm just going to reiterate that because I've answered a lot of questions in the chat, the Q&A, and they keep coming up. So I'm just going to put this out here to everyone. Please go to navigar.ca, click on IT group support, and you'll get all the information and instructions that you need. And then if something is still not working, then you can reach out to us on the contact us form.
And I've just put a link to the document, how to activate your Pluralsight account, in the Q&A. So on the understanding that you already have Navigar, this is what should happen with your Navigar account, where with your Pluralsight account, things that can mess it up. If you've got an email address that has ever been attached to a Pluralsight account, even if that account is inactive, even if that's a secondary email address, that will throw this process off. So what I've been suggesting to people is, and I'm sorry because this is I don't know if we've had this in place for a week yet, so we're still working through edge cases. But if this is the case and you have this email address on a Pluralsight account, if you can either remove it or replace it with a different email address, then log into your Navigar account. If see if that triggers these two Pluralsight emails. If it doesn't, then let us know through the contact us form. And again, we're not pushing people off to the form to be dismissive, but that routes everything to the right place. We're not a big team, so we've tried to be as efficient as we can with our resources. So the form gets things to the right place fast.
Also, I want to just interject because I'm seeing this question. We actually had a whole campaign, and this exists if you go to IT group support about changing your email. So if you logged into Navigar and you used a work email and now you need to change it, that's where you click on the form. We have a drop down. You select Pluralsight, you select change email, you put in the new email. We'll reset your account with the personal email.
So hopefully we've given you enough here that you can sort of self-solve these things. And I'm not going to try to address any more of the questions about this. We'll see if the answer is in the document and replacing email addresses does it.
So I'm sorry, go to navigar.ca. I'm not talking about the web app. I'm talking about the website. The website is where you have the support page and all that information. So again, navigar.ca.
Okay, Christopher, hang on. I'm going to give you an answer to this. I suspect it's entirely possible that some of the trouble that you're experiencing, where we've answered, like say some of our support has answered, that you're discovering edge cases for us to work through. We'll get this resolved as quickly as we can, guys. We want you in Navigar and we want you in Pluralsight. Okay. Okay, I'm going to try and answer some of these emails really quickly. Are there any other questions that we have for Helen or Cindy? I don't want to close the webinar until I've got to some of these. So I will say, if anybody wants to go about your day, feel free. And I'm going to try to get to these outstanding questions quickly.
And also to let folks know, we're doing a daily push with activations. So if you send in a change email every day at around 3 p.m., an email will go out with new activation links. So that's a daily process.
Okay, this may be an answer. If we have a work email address on your Navigar account still, that also will interrupt this flow. So I've looked up a couple people quickly, and I can see that's the answer. So again, you have to use a non-work email address. Personal email address doesn't. You can create a special one if you want. My Pluralsight account at gmail.com, or you can request a PIPS email address, and that will work as well through the PIPS website in the member tools. Once you've
And
established
again,
which,
sorry to interrupt, Peter,
Yep.
but I think really people need to go to navigar.ca, not the web app, the website, go to IT group support, and that information is all there.
I'm getting there. Yeah.
A lot will get lost in translation if we're just giving this to you verbally. I just wanted to let you know, like, these are all issues that can be resolved. It's been configured this way for very specific reason, namely configuration constraints on the Pluralsight side in terms of accounts and emails being linked to plans and only being able to be linked to one plan. So rest assured, we have looked at this from every angle and broken down the advice and steps that you need to take, as well as rationale for why. And it's all there. And then, of course, as Peter referenced, there are going to be edge cases. That's inevitable. And then we'll work with you on resolving that.
So very quickly, a couple of questions we can answer. Yes, we've recorded this session. We'll have a link out to you before the end of the week. And it will include the document that I showed at the beginning, which has the instructions for activating your Navigar account and your Pluralsight account. And I see there's a question. Yes, if you have an email that's already linked to a Pluralsight account that you pay for, that email address can't be used in Navigar. It's got to be distinct.
No, actually, Peter, it's a personal plan. If they want to merge it, they can.
Right.
Yeah. But it will merge. So that's your choice. If you want to merge the plans, that's what will happen. So your history will carry over. So if you're okay with that, that's great. If you want to keep them separate, then you need to use a different email. And we also explain that.
So I hope if we haven't given you answers, you've got answers and the tools to get answers. If not, please use our support and we'll get an answer to you. I think we've got one more hand raised. We can optimistically see if I can make this work this time. I'll give it a shot. Okay, Jacqueline.
Apologies. I think my question has subsequently been answered. I'm sending a request to have my work email removed from my Navigar account.
Super. Thank you. Okay.
And as Peter pointed out, it's important to use the forum because there's 23,000 members of the IT group and we are a tiny team. So the forum really helps us streamline tickets and supports through our ticketing system.
Great. Thank you, everyone. We've got one last comment, and it's that the instructions worked. So with hopes raised, fingers crossed, and a big smile, we say thank you all very much for your time and your attention and asking us all these questions. This is great. Thank you, Helen and Cindy, for being here to help us. If you have more questions, now you know how to get in touch with us. Thank you, everybody. Everyone, we'll look forward to seeing you in Navigar. Bye, all.
Thank you. Bye.